Good afternoon and welcome to Real Chicks Rock Presents Real Discussions. I'm your host, Michelle Dawes-Bird, and as always, I'm super excited to be here with you this afternoon. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We got a fun-filled, packed one today. I'm talking to one of my favorites today, so I'm really super excited about that. I'm just not going to keep you in suspense anymore. I'm just going to bring them in. Today, my topic is all about a lawyer by day, a DJ by night. It is DJ Mr. Alan King. Hey, Alan, how are you?
Hey, Michelle, how are
I
you?
am wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
Well, you know you're one of my favorite people too, and I hate it's been so long since we've seen each other. So
Yeah,
thank you
yeah,
for
I'm
having me.
tickled. I'm tickled. Alan, I want to just jump right in with you because I
Sure.
respect you. I respect your opinion. I respect your profession. There's been so much going on these past couple of weeks with Georgia turning blue, with Warnock getting in office and Onslow. I just wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts about them rioting the Capitol last week? What was that all about?
Well, first of all praise to you and everybody in the ATL and in Georgia turning blue. That's amazing. So
Yeah.
I know you put in some work too. So um, last week or this January 6th, I mean, was just absolutely insane. But it was really the culmination of what Donald Trump has put out in the atmosphere over the last 4 years. And, frankly, it was so irresponsible on his part because he knows he has these army of people that, listen and hang on his every word and believe whatever it is that he tells them. I have absolutely no doubt that Donald Trump knows he lost the election, and he knows that I mean, he's a smart guy and he's strategic. Although, that's about the only positive things I can think to say about him. But when you put these lies out there and conspiracy theories, and people hear it from the president of the United States, we shouldn't be surprised that a crazy mob will take mob action. So it's just so disappointing for the country, but it all lands at the feet of Donald Trump as far as I'm concerned.
Right. So we shouldn't really be surprised by the antics, right?
No, not at all. I mean, he's been fomenting violence and racism, quite frankly, since before he was president. And I genuinely don't think he believes a lot of that stuff. He is strategic, and he's a manipulator, and he's a liar. It's amazing to me that his people haven't figured out that he's a liar
Yeah.
yet. I mean, there have been so many signs. Yeah, President Obama was born in America. He ain't built no wall. Mexico ain't paid for it. The Affordable Care Act is still the law of the land.
Yeah, yeah.
And last time I checked, Hillary Clinton is not in jail.
Yeah.
Has not been locked up. So basically, he's done absolutely nothing that he promised or ran on, and still these people think that he's telling the truth.
I know.
It's
I
amazing.
know. I know. It's incredible, but I do want to piggyback off the point on the fact that he is strategic. So I don't think he's going to go away quietly. I think that he'll go away eventually, but I think he's already working on his next moves, whatever that may be. Wouldn't you agree, Alan?
Yeah, I do, but I tell you, getting banned from Twitter is a big, fly in his ointment, because he's got to have a means of continuing to communicate with his legions of idiots. But and obviously he loved to tweet, and Twitter was a big part of his life. So, they're saying he's banned permanently. I have a feeling they're going to rescind that at some point after he's out of office.
Right.
But that's cramped everything he's trying to do when he has lost Twitter and can't constantly communicate directly with his people. And so it'll be interesting to see. I do think he's going to come up with some kind of news organization, some alternative to Fox News and some of the other sites that are out there.
Yeah.
But he's going to have a lot, he's got lawsuits coming. He might have criminal prosecution coming, as a result of his last dastardly act, which was encouraging this riot, I mean, he's really cut himself off. I mean, he's toxic. His brand is toxic. You know, people are just not going to mess with him going forward. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how he figures out how to continue to thrive and make money and really be in charge of the Republican Party. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting.
It will be. We have to pay attention because there was a population or a percentage of black people that were supporting him as well, which was surprising. So it will be interesting to see how he rises out of this and who are the people that still believe in him. I'm still trying to figure out why were they believing in him in the first place, because he didn't do anything. I mean, a stimulus check, maybe, some tax breaks, perhaps, but you know, the man doesn't care about the human race, and we're all a part of that. So to me, that should weigh a little bit heavier than anything else that he's talking about.
No, I feel you. I mean, I always say maybe he's the worst president of all time, but he's definitely the worst human being that's ever been president. Save for maybe some of our early presidents who owned slaves.
Right.
But other than that, he is about the worst human being who has ever been president. And we're seeing the results of that. You know, hundreds of people getting arrested and locked up for listening to his nonsense.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Enough about that guy.
Yeah, enough about that.
Let's talk about you, Alan King. Tell me, where are you from? Are you born and raised in Chicago?
I am born and raised in Chicago, in the city, south side of Chicago. So yeah.
And no intentions of leaving. That's the place. That's it.
You know, it's crazy because every winter I tell myself, why in the hell am I doing this when I don't have to? But I love the city.
Yeah.
And despite, you know, its faults, you know, the violence issue is an issue.
Right.
Although I think that gets overplayed a lot. But yeah, you know, you never know. You know, retirement time, I may pop up somewhere else. But
yeah.
But I love the city. I'm a Chicago kid through and through.
So as a kid in Chicago, what kind of music did you listen to, Alan? What influenced you back then?
Yeah, you know, I have an older brother and had an older sister. So my sister's like 11 years older than me. And, you know, we had music in our house always. And, you know, she would tell me this story and my mother would tell me this story. Like my sister was a big Beatles fan. Like this is in the 60s.
Yeah.
I'm like 4 and 5 years old. And she had a record player in her room and she'd be in there playing Beatles records all the time. And apparently I would go in there and mess around with her records and put things out of place. And she eventually had a lock put on her bedroom to keep me out from messing with her records. But, you know, with the ingenuity I had as a 4-year-old, I found a broom in the kitchen and I used the broom handle because I couldn't even reach the lock. But I opened the lock and I would go in there and play her records. So literally from when I was 4 or 5 years old, I had an interest in music and playing records. But then my brother's 4 years older. So, you know, most of my musical taste came from him. So we were listening to, you know, Parliament Funkadelic, Earth, Wind and Fire, Barcades, Confunction, all these R&B groups. So that early on, that was before I discovered dance music.
Right.
We can certainly, of course, talk about. But you know, it was R&B, P-Funk, Earth, Wind and Fire. You know, that was
all of that.
My childhood.
Awesome. So I'm going to kind of speed up just a little bit. I want to talk about when you decided to go to college. Where did you go?
I went to a small college in Illinois called Augustana College, and a small liberal arts college. And I'm almost ashamed to say now that I pretty much went there to play basketball because I was being recruited to play ball. And long story short, I ended up at Augustana. But it's a really good school. I met a lot of wonderful people that are still close friends today. So I managed to, you know, people that look at this old guy now and may not see me as a hooper, but I was very much, and you know, managed to go to Augustana and play ball and somehow do well enough to get into a decent law school after that. So
What position you play as a ball player?
point guard. I was a
Uh-huh.
point guard, yeah.
Coming down, coming through, right?
Absolutely. Addition, make
Yeah,
ball,
passing it. Yeah.
stuff.
So you were probably awesome in the neighborhood as well, hence why that led you to going to that college.
Yeah, basketball was a big deal.
Kept you
Growing
out
up.
of trouble?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I found some trouble, but fortunately, nothing too serious.
So music and basketball, then we're at college, and then we go to law school. So what made you become a lawyer, Alan? Why a lawyer?
Yeah, that's interesting too. My father was a lawyer,
Okay.
actually, which might lead you to think that that's the reason I wanted to become a lawyer. Nah, I can't even say that was it.
Was it
To,
a woman? Was
to
it
tell
was
you,
it the
no,
girls?
to tell you the truth, I got to about my junior year of college, and I was like, man, this is about to end in about 12 months. I have no idea what I'm going to do after college. And my thought at the time, literally, because my father's a lawyer, I mean, I was familiar with that. My thought at the time was, you know what? I'm going to go to law school because that'll give me 3 more years to figure out what I want to do with my life. And so it wasn't a kind of thing like I always wanted to be a lawyer and
Right.
all that stuff. I really didn't. But once I got in law school, it kind of agreed with me. The writing part of it, the sort of analytical thinking. Then I had some good professors in law school that I really liked, and so once I got there and survived at least the first year, which can be very difficult, I was pretty sure what I
That's what
wanted
you
to
wanted
do
to
at that
do.
point. So.
So tell me what the music scene was like during that time. Now you're a young adult, you're in college, you're in law school.
Yeah.
What was the scene like? Where did you go to party, and did you party? What did you do? What's going on?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting question. So, I started DJing like in eighth grade, so like 1977. I started DJing, and I did that obviously all through high school and chosen few stuff, and we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But I continued to DJ in college, sort of at the college. So I was the big college DJ there.
Wow.
But I gave it up at law school for a while. But when I was in college, so I would sometimes, I was only about 3 hours away, and I would come home as much as I could, quite frankly, to go to initially the warehouse and then the power plant, which were the two places where Frankie Knuckles had his residencies. So I had started going to the warehouse in 1980 or 81, and
Got hooked.
got hooked. So sometimes I would come home from school, go to the warehouse, go right back to school. My parents wouldn't even know that I was in town. So I was doing a lot of that. I was turning like some of my folks on to house music, dance music. I take them from school with me to the warehouse and later the power plant. So, but I was playing ball too, so it was a kind of a thing like I guess that's been the story of my life, like burning the candle at
Both ends. You're a busy guy. You sound like your life in Chicago was similar to ours in New York. So while you guys were going to the warehouse, coming from college, going to the warehouse, going back, parents didn't know you were in town. We were doing that at Paradise Garage. We'd come in, party all night, get in the car, go back to school. Parents didn't even know we was in town. It was the same kind of energy going on. Wasn't it crazy? Wasn't it epic? Did you have like wonderful nights at the warehouse? It was probably amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, people, and I take it as a huge compliment. And obviously, Frankie did impact me as a DJ. But I had been DJing and a fairly popular DJ for years before I first went to the warehouse. But that was the place where I like really figured it out, like what a house music party's supposed to sound like and
Wow.
look like, and the lights, the bass that's beating in your chest, and so it was a profound experience. So even though I've been DJing for years, I was like, wow, this is different. And so yeah, it was amazing. And back in those days, I initially, of course, didn't know Frankie, and I would get up the nerve to, whenever I go, I'd bring my little TDK cassette, and I go up there, and I would hand it to him. And he was so, even then, he didn't know me. He was so nice and so gracious. He'd pop the cassette in there, and he'd record both sides and give me the cassette back at the end of the night.
Ah.
So I have all these like unbelievable cassette tapes. Some of them have broken, excuse me, but some of them I still have. So, it turned out he and I kind of reconnected and became really good friends much later. But that was among the memories. And I'll just share one more memory. How desperate we were to go to hear Frankie, and other people. It was Ron Hardy or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But I remember one winter, I think Frankie was at the power plant there, and the I don't know what the temperature was, but the wind chill factor was like -80 below, like Siberia. And it was a Saturday night, like where we'd go to the power plant normally. So I grabbed my guy, John Wilson, my buddy, and we're like, man, you think power plant's gonna be open at 80 below? And we thought, either it's gonna be closed, or there's only gonna be a handful of people in there. And we went out in the snow and 80 below, drove down to the power plant, went in the power plant. It was packed. So that's how compelling, that was. And I just thought of that. And now I'm remembering that John's car died while we were in the power plant, and we had to call his dad at like 7 a.m. to come help us get a jump.
Oh my God.
So, lots of crazy memories from childhood.
Incredible. So that was inspiration, and it led you to this thing, this entity, this body of great men called Chosen Few. Tell me, how did that happen for you, Alan? Tell me.
Yeah, so Wayne Williams started the Chosen Few.
Yes.
Also in 1977, when I started DJing, and initially it was really just him and Jesse Saunders. And I would say, I wouldn't say we were rival DJs, but we were on sort of the same scene and doing our thing. And I think Wayne came to a couple parties that I was doing, and number one, I guess, was impressed. But number two, what he was probably most impressed about was I had my own records.
Yeah.
I had my own music. So all the stuff that he had, and that, he was a big crate digger and record shopping guy, and I was too. So I think Wayne, like, who is this dude who's got all the
stuff I got? Yeah.
So I think that was a big part of it. Like, he wanted to, and he's really made the ultimate decisions in, bringing folks into the crew over the years, and obviously in recent years adding, Mike Dunn and Terry Hunter, which we were all, of course, thrilled about and on board with. But so I think Wayne approached me at some point, like 79, 80, about maybe it was 80, about joining the crew.
Right.
And so yeah, I mean, at the time, I mean, we were doing parties all over Chicago, and kind of the hot house music, dance music DJs at the time. So.
And what were those early parties like, Alan? What was the vibe and the energy? What kind of music were you guys playing back then?
Yeah, it was a lot of, I mean, it was great. So, one of the places from that era that stands out the most was a club called The Loft.
Yeah.
That we called The Loft, and obviously there was The Loft in New York too, 14th in Michigan and Chicago. And different people hosted parties there, but they pretty much always booked us. So we were essentially the resident DJs at the Loft. But that was a really special place, and it was a lot of danceable R&B at the time. Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes type stuff. And, but we were just getting into the real disco era, 79 or so. So it was disco, but it was more underground disco.
Right.
And just to share another story about the Loft, I mean, the place got so popular and so crowded. One of the things that I look back now as an adult in horror is that the floor at the Loft used to like literally heave up and down with the pounding of people dancing, and like we were probably like this close to that whole floor because it was on the second floor. We were this close to that floor collapsing, and never, we're teenagers, we're not really paying any attention.
Right.
But, damn, look at the floor. And then another great Loft story is, so it started getting so crowded there that like we'd have to cut off admission at a certain point. We knew it was too crowded, but there was a fire department directly across the street from the Loft, and as I said, the Loft is on the second floor. And one time, and I think I was DJing, I remember looking at there were some front windows to the building, and these folks had gone across the street, got a ladder from the fire department, put the ladder up to the building, and they started coming in the second floor.
Wow.
To get in.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was bananas.
And this was every week that the energy was like that at the Loft?
Pretty much, yeah. So
Jeez.
Mostly 80-ish. We may have started 79, may have filtered over to 81, but 1980, I say, was the real sweet spot for the Loft. But
wow.
So yeah, I mean, it was insane.
When did you guys, as Chosen Few DJs, really, probably Wayne, and he probably talked to all of you guys, but when did you guys decide to really make it a festival? Like really taking it out to the park?
Yeah. Well, we didn't ever decide to make it a big festival like it is now, and we could talk about that. But actually the first year, so I had gone off to college and law school. Tony Hatchett had moved to Houston. Jesse Saunders had moved to LA. So we were all kind of spread out. And people would always say, usually around the holidays, because we'd be in town, like, when are you guys gonna play together again? What are you gonna do? So the first thing we did, we may even call this the first year of the picnic, even though it wasn't a picnic. So we had a party one Christmas holiday season, and again, like 40, 50 below, Chicago. This is Chicago. And we're like, nobody's going to come to this party. And for about the first hour or two, we were right. Nobody came to that party. But as the night wore on, people just came and came and came, and it was packed, and a great party, even though we were freezing our butts off. So anyway, that was sort of the genesis of the idea of doing some kind of reunion, some kind of Chosen Few regular thing. So the following year we started in the park, and literally there were maybe 40, 50 people there, and we're playing music in the background, but people are playing softball and talking football around, and it was more of just a picnic with house music in the background, and just by osmosis, organic, whatever you want to call it, 50 people the next year became 75 people, which the next year became 2,000 people, which before you knew it became 5,000 people. And just insane. And we never really set out to have a big festival or anything that looks anything like what the Chosen Few picnic looks like now. We just wanted to get together and hang out 4th of July weekend, and people just never stopped coming and coming and coming. And in those early years, we were financing everything out of our
Yeah.
pockets. And you know, that's easy to do when you got 50 people, but when you got 5,000,
That's
you
a
got
lot.
security and
Yes.
bathrooms and all sorts of.
Yeah.
So we really got to a junction point, probably, I don't know, 2008 or so, where we had a decision to make, you know, because it was just getting beyond our ability to manage.
Hmm.
Logistically, it became too expensive to put on. So, you know, we had two choices. We could either say, man, that was a good run, but, you know, that's a wrap. Or we could figure out how in the world do you put on what we believe now is kind of a world class music festival.
Yeah.
And we chose option B, and that was figuring out how to do this. And you know, again, we never planned for this. We never set out to have a festival with 20 or 30 or 40,000 people. It just took on a life of its own, and we stepped up to the challenge.
It's huge. It's
Yeah,
huge. It's
it's
huge.
crazy.
I had the opportunity of being there for year 24 and 25.
Oh
And
yeah.
it was beautiful. And I saw a difference, Alan, from 24 to 25. 24, we were having to have paper. Our tickets had
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
printed out. So we had to have our tickets in our hand, and it was just okay, we were doing things that way. 25, it was handheld telzons. They were just
Right.
scanning it in. You know,
Yeah.
we're coming in, cops are thick. It's just, and you had two different entrance points and the lines were long. And I was like, this is a festival. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah, it's been, yeah, yeah, and we've tried different things in different years, like you
Yeah,
say, the scanning and all that stuff.
it's
But
wonderful.
it's amazing. I mean, it's gotten to the point where you know, right after the first of the year, you know, we start planning, and you know, there's these huge meetings with all these city of Chicago
Right,
departments, police and fire and park
right.
district, and so it's more than a notion to plan and organize, and you know, hopefully we'll get back out there
Yeah.
at some point. You know, could be this July, but I don't know.
Don't know yet. We got to see how things pan out because we're still in the
Yeah,
midst of things with the pandemic, unfortunately. And we
right,
missed the 30th in 2020. You
right.
know, we had big plans to be there, but it just wasn't, we just couldn't do it.
I know.
So, but it's
Right,
it's exciting because when you're in Chicago, it's like a chosen few DJ takeover, like chosen few takeover. You guys
right,
are on the radio, they're playing your mixes, you guys are doing interviews, you're on AM morning radio, like everybody's excited. You're
right,
DJing in front of the building downtown
right.
and
Big
everybody's
platform.
dancing on the lunch break. It's crazy. It's like you guys own the city for that weekend.
Hey, all I can tell you is, if any of us had told you that when we were in our 50s,
Yeah.
this thing that we were doing as kids and teenagers in high
Right.
school, that this thing would have come back around to us and been bigger than ever, never would have dreamed that would happen. And
Yeah.
you know, here I am, you know, 57-year-old
Yeah.
lawyer, you know, DJing as much as I could possibly DJ, and enjoying it just as much as I did when I was a kid.
Wow.
It's been pretty remarkable.
It's sensational. I mean, the energy you get standing on that stage, because I know the energy I feel hanging on the fence, because I'm on the front and I'm hanging, and we're trying to like just try to reach, and you got Indian chief is
Right.
dancing. It's a whole thing, and the
Right.
energy is just great. And it seems like God kisses us every time because there's not a cloud in the sky, at least the times that I've gone. And it's been great. And you guys, the sound system is incredible. And just the organization, like the high balloons in the air, like this is spot
Right.
30 or HI. And so you people know where they are, and the sponsors is incredible because you've had a phenomenal board of sponsors supporting this initiative, and it's great. It's
Yeah.
great, especially for you because you're from Chicago. So like,
Yeah.
you're loving on your people, man.
No, it's an amazing thing, and I think the magic of it is that it started literally as a family reunion,
Yeah.
and we have somehow managed, despite getting up to 30 or 40,000 people, to keep that family reunion
Yeah.
vibe
Yeah.
alive. So, it's become a meeting place for, your high school, your sorority,
Mm-hmm.
your, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's meeting at the chosen few, and we're humbled by it, and I just look at it like we're at this point we're custodians of something that people care about
Yeah.
and rely on and look forward to
Yeah.
and plan around. So, even if we wanted to stop
I
or,
don't
or
think you can
quit,
stop, Alan. I don't think
it's
you can
hard to do
stop.
that.
We don't want you to stop. How did you
Yeah,
guys feel when you had that street named after you guys? I mean, that was pretty awesome.
yeah, it was unbelievable. So, yeah, that was in 2015, our 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
We had a couple of surprises that day, which,
Yeah. A letter from the president,
yeah, well, a video, a
a
video from the
video.
president, and I'll tell you just an interesting story about that in a minute. But I was burdened with the knowledge for about 2 weeks before the picnic that year that we were going to get a street named after us, and the president of the United States was going to. Well, I didn't know video initially. Again, I'll tell that story. But I actually knew that, and I didn't tell any of the other brothers that either of these things were coming, and I wanted them to be surprises. I think I broke down and told Terry about the video, but I wanted our guys to be as shocked as the
As the
rest of the
people,
crowd.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean the president. I've been very fortunate to, have a friend since, the mid
Say
'90s.
his name, Alan. Say his name so the people know. Say his name,
All
sir. Say
right,
the
right.
name.
The 44th president of the United States, Barack Obama, um, is a good friend, and we've been friends for many years. And um, I happened to be at the White House. It must have been in June, a month or a few weeks before the picnic for our 25th anniversary. And I had a chance, I think for the first time, to really talk to him at some length about the picnic and kind of what it means to
Right.
Chicago, and the whole nonviolent aspect. And
Right.
we put 30 or 40,000 folks in a park in Chicago
Mm-hmm.
on the South Side, and then in 25 years we've been fortunate not had a single act of violence, not a
Right.
single security incident of any significance. So anyway, I was kind of telling him about that because I had this idea, and I asked him if he would record an audio like greeting to the picnic, the 25th anniversary, and we'd play it and he'd come on and say it. So anyway, this was on like a Saturday when I talked to him about it, and then the following, I think it was Tuesday, I get a call saying um, the president has a video for you, and I said, well, first of all, you mean an audio, right? And they said, oh no, a video. He cut it this morning. So he took it totally upon himself to cut a video, and so I mean that's the kind of guy he is, the kind of friend he is, and so I was blown away. So
Yeah.
they sent me this video, and so I have it in my phone for about like 3 or 4 weeks. It's like burning a hole in my phone. Like I want to show people, but I wanted to keep it a surprise as best as I possibly could. And I remember, I don't know if I ever told Wayne, but I remember telling Terry. I showed Terry the video about a week before the picnic, and it was like, oh my God.
God, yeah. That's how we felt when we heard it. When we saw him come up on the monitor and he was talking, we were like, oh my God. Like immediately, like these guys know people.
I know. It's crazy. All of it's crazy. That whole thing is crazy. Like who knows somebody who actually runs for president and is, crazy enough to actually win. So that whole experience was I still have a hard time believing that he did it
Yeah.
and did it for 2 terms.
Yeah.
And, I was very fortunate to spend a fair amount of time on the campaign trail with
Yeah.
him in 2008. And, it's still unreal. It's so hard to believe.
One last question about him. Did you used to ball against him? You guys used to play ball together?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's where I met him. And it's funny over the years, like people ask, when did you meet or where did you meet him? And it was so like not so special
Yeah.
at the time that it's just like any of your other friends, like, damn, where do we meet initially? But I'm pretty sure we met playing basketball.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I had known Michelle's brother Craig for years, who was a hooper and kind of
Yeah.
ran basketball circles. And so anyway, I think we started playing ball together, and then we figured out with Barack that we had a lot of mutual friends, lived in the same neighborhood, and kind of rolled from there. But this is like the mid 1990s or so, 95, 96.
Nice. Let me ask you, Alan, how do you balance being a lawyer by day and a DJ by night? I mean, you're excellent. You're a husband, a father. How do you balance all that out?
I don't know. I don't know. I think a lifetime of like being in clubs and hanging out late. Like I don't need a lot of sleep, which may not be true and reflective of my health, which probably could be better if I got a lot more sleep.
Get you some rest.
But it obviously, I try to avoid doing a lot of things musically, like during the week, or if I know I have a big week coming up, a trial or something.
Right.
I'm not going to hang out till 3 or 4 in the morning. And so, it's a lot of balancing and trade-offs. But what I look back now and I'm kind of mad at myself that, once I went to law school and then the first, 10 years or so of my practice, and it probably was the right thing to do, but I kind of dropped the whole DJing thing, focused on, my career and sort of getting started. But, little by little, it just kept calling me back. And, now I look back and like, wow, I missed a lot of years with something that I'm really passionate about. But, you have trade-offs in life, and, I did what I had to do. And like I said, you couldn't have told me, at 57 years old, this was going to come back around for me and be as big as it is now.
So Alan, tell the people a little bit about the type of law that you practice, because we've been throwing that title out that you are a lawyer, but just for interest, what type of law do you practice?
Yeah, I do what's known as labor and employment law. So primarily litigation. So it's a lot of employment related litigation, whether it's discrimination or sexual harassment or whistleblower type claims or non-compete, people leaving one job going to another, and, that sorts of stuff. So pretty much everything in the employment arena is essentially what I do.
And that keeps you busy. Any signs of you slowing down in your lawyer profession?
I'm definitely trying to slow down on that side of things. So I don't know. I'm going to do at least a few more years, but I'm really not trying to be doing this forever. And I really want to, have more time, frankly, to spend toward music than I do. So that's the plan, to kind of taper off the law stuff and ramp up the music stuff.
Yeah, that's a good thing to know, that you're not going to slow down on the music. It would be cool if you could share with us at least a little bit of those Frankie Knuckle tapes that you got. Just play a little bit of it. If it's like 15, 20 minutes, so we could feel what the vibe was at that time. Because that's almost Smithsonian material you got there.
I know. I hope I can still find that stuff. I know I had it before we moved at another house, but
you got to find that, Alan.
I know.
You got to find that. So you've been so busy, you haven't had an opportunity to produce music, but you're looking to hopefully kind of get in that space?
Yeah, I mean, that's really the only thing that I feel like I haven't done, and I've done a couple remixes that are
Right.
out there and on Track Source,
Mm-hmm.
but and the shame of it is, I'm so fortunate to have access to, some of the greatest producers, in
Yeah.
our crew, even between
Yes.
Terry Hunter and Mike Dunn, and
Yes.
at this point, there's a lot of folks that want to help me on that side.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been a matter of time. So, as you said, I'm juggling a lot of things, and
Yeah.
so and part of the reason my voice is a little raspy today is that I was doing my Saturday night live show on Twitch last night until 3 in the morning. So,
I
so
noticed that about you. You keep real late hours.
yeah,
When you go pretty late. You go long and you go pretty late. So this
yeah.
pandemic has not slowed you down at all.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, obviously the pandemic has been terrible, but the two best things to come out of it for me anyway, one, spending more time with my children and
Yes.
my new grandbaby, because they've both come to Chicago a lot during the pandemic and
Yeah.
kind of sheltered here.
Yeah.
So to have the girls back in the house has been a blessing. And
Mm-hmm.
then I started this Saturday night. I was one of the first DJs, I think, to go over to this Twitch
Platform.
platform,
Yes. Yeah, you were.
and I did it in March.
Mm-hmm.
And again, with no plan, kind of just like the picnic. Like the first time I went live on Twitch, it was a Saturday night, and I don't know, I was going to probably play for like an hour or 2 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I ended up playing like 5 or 6 hours that night. I just was enjoying it,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, that's kind of become my
That's your
time slot.
thing. Yeah, that's your thing, man.
Yeah, so every Saturday night, I call it Saturday Night Live,
Mm-hmm.
and 8 p.m. in Chicago till 2
Mm-hmm.
or 3 a.m. usually.
Yeah,
Every
that's a full
Saturday
day's
night.
work.
Yeah, but yeah, it's been fun. It's nice to have a chance to kind of stretch out
Yeah.
musically and
Yeah.
cover a lot of ground, and
Yeah.
new music, classics, disco, and
Everything. You could do
yeah,
what you want. Nobody to stop you.
right,
I
right,
mean, your exposure to music, come on, playing records at 4 and playing the Beatles, come on, you got a whole lot to say musically. You
yeah.
sure do. And I'm glad that that's
There's a
been
lot.
working
There's a
out.
lot of music up in this
Yeah,
way.
absolutely. Absolutely. So you got to get in the producing space. Is there
Yeah.
anybody that you would like to play for or with that you haven't?
Wow. You know what? I've been so blessed through the picnic and frankly this SNL show taking off so much. Um, I don't know. If you
Mm,
asked me that question 10 years ago, I would
yeah,
have probably had a fairly long list.
long list.
And 5 years ago, I would have had a shorter list.
Mm-hmm.
But we've had so many people at the picnic, and everyone from Louis and Morales and
Yeah,
Joe Claussell,
yeah.
everybody you can think of. But all the DJs that I really like and have looked up to in some cases, I think one way or another we've been on the same bill
On the same
at this
stage.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there isn't
So
anything,
that's a great
anybody.
question.
Yeah.
Tony Humphreys is probably the only, not the only, but kind
One
of a
of the big
legend.
ones, right?
Yeah, that I haven't done anything with Tony. I don't
Yeah.
think.
He's busy. You may have to go overseas or something to play with him because he does a
Yeah,
lot of stuff in Europe
right,
per se,
right, right.
but and he's another one that's got a legacy and a body of work and still going
Absolutely,
strong.
absolutely.
No signs of slowing down because the people love it. The one thing I love about the picnic, the Chosen Few picnic, and it's a festival really.
Right, I know.
It does feel like family, and I really appreciate that because it bridges the generation gap, right? So as we are getting older, we got kids, some have grandkids, and that's how you learned, right? So that's how I learned about Motown. That's how I learned about doo-wop, right? Doo-wop music. My mom loved it. played it all the time. So I learned about Frankie Lyman and the Imperials and all that. And then Motown came and she was listening to that and I was listening to it. And then it becomes ingrained in your soul. So that's what I love about it. That's what gives me the hope about house music staying on forever, because places and moments like that where we come together and it's hours of this delicious music hitting your soul, it's amazing.
No, that's a great point, and it's something we're so proud of too. And you at this point you've got kids because their parents are house heads, but who've been coming to the picnic since they were 3 or 4 or 5 years old, and now they're 30, and they've been coming every year. And, been exposed to house music and dance music, and that's critical. I mean, I always tell people that if we don't figure out a way to pass this music down to the next generation, we're gonna run the risk of this kind of dying out with us, at least in the United States. I mean, I see it in a lot of other countries. It's more popular, it's more mainstream, and younger people are partying the house music. It can tend to be an older people's thing.
I know.
In a lot of parts of the U.S. So we really have to figure out a way to pass that music down, and the picnic is a big way that we do that.
Sign me up for however we need to pass it on, because that's why I try to use this platform, and we talk about it, because I feel the same way too. I don't want it to go with me. I want it to stay on forever, just pass it on. And it is a different energy in Europe than it is here. Most of the kids here is like, oh, that's like R&B, or that's old folk stuff here. Y'all listen, they don't even dance as much here as they do. And not for nothing, some places in other countries doesn't necessarily have the rhythm, but they have the freedom. They just are going to express themselves on the dance floor. And they'll pay whatever it costs. That's another thing. House says have a cap on what they're going to pay to get in, and what they think it should be.
Which is almost zero.
And can you put me on the list and all this? And, and when you go to Europe, it's, it's like you're going to pay or you're not going to get in. And it's just, it's a different vibe. So we got to figure out how can we keep this thing going, because I don't want it to stop. I don't want it to stop.
Yeah, and the great thing is, when young people are exposed to it, they like it.
They like it.
Particularly if it's in the right setting and there's tons of people enjoying themselves and dancing.
They like
it. If you can expose them to it, they get it, or a lot of them get it. It's just a matter of figuring out how to expose them to it.
Absolutely. Alan, what's next for you? You got some projects or anything going on? What's going on besides loving that adorable grandbaby of yours? What else is on the plate for you?
It's tough, obviously, with this pandemic.
Yes.
And one of the most immediate decisions that we have is to try to figure out if we can go back in the park this July. And I hate to say it, but I think it's probably doubtful. But we just don't know yet. I mean, we got to see what the deal is with the vaccine, and how comfortable people might be in July getting together. And it may not be until next
2022 next year.
I don't know. We've certainly not made any final decisions.
Understood.
But I mean, other than that, I mean, doing my Saturday night show has been amazing, and had a really nice and kind of loyal audience, and that's been a blessing. And actually to be able to just go down in my basement and play some music.
Yeah, that's nice. And
now I'm reaching folks all over the world. And, a lot of people that maybe didn't even know about me. Have found their way to my Twitch show on Saturday nights. So
you have a beautiful studio, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice. Woo.
You know what? I usually do these kind of things like in that studio. But because I was in there till 3 o'clock this morning,
you needed a break.
You know what? I'm not even going down there. I'm tired of it. I'm going to go in another room and look like the lawyer side of me and not the DJ side of me.
I like your shirt. Lean back. Let's see your shirt.
Oh,
Chicago. That's cute. That's nice. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Through and through. And aren't you a White Sox fan?
I am a White Sox fan, although the secret is I grew up more of a Cubs fan than a White
Uh-huh,
Sox fan,
uh-huh.
and I actually a buddy of mine ended up becoming the general manager of the Chicago White Sox, and since that happened, I've become a White Sox
We White
fan.
Sox fan. Yeah,
But but I always like both teams, and
yeah.
that's like sacrilegious in Chicago. You're supposed to pick one, but you
No,
know, I'm a Sox fan and a Cub fan.
you're a sports fan through and through. Alan, this was wonderful. How can people find you? So tell us your address on Twitch and Facebook. How can we find you? Where are you?
Yeah, so Twitch every Saturday night, 8 p.m. till late. Twitch.tv/DJ Allen King,
Mm-hmm.
8 p.m. till late, and then Facebook, Instagram, all of that. But in terms of my live DJing shows,
You keep it
I'm
on Twitch.
exclusively on Twitch. On
It's
Saturday.
less of a hassle for you on Twitch, right? They don't bother you
Yeah,
about the music and the rights and all that.
yeah. That's the reason I left Facebook, because Facebook was like throwing you off, and so Twitch, I'm doing 6 or 7 hours like every Saturday night, never a problem, never tossed off, and so it's been really good. But,
Man,
so
man.
yeah, until we figure out when we're gonna get out of this pandemic, catch me on Twitch on
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah, I think we got a few more months of staying in place.
Yeah,
Even though Atlanta's wilding out, they got clubs and people are
really.
there are lines for clubs and they're not social distancing on the lines and I don't see any masks.
Oh my
But
goodness.
they're just gonna make it worse, I think. But until most of us that are reasonable and level-headed are comfortable in being in a space, it may take a little time. But we got you on Twitch, Alan, so I'm glad for that.
Well, before we go, I just want to congratulate you on this long running show and
Thank you.
series, Real
Thank
Chicks
you.
Rock. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been like 5 years or something, right?
Almost. I'm going into this is my 5th year. In April will be 5 years of doing the show,
Yeah,
and
I
I've
figured
been.
that's amazing.
Thank
So,
you,
I
thank
love
you.
you.
I love
your
you too.
show.
Thank you so much. I've been blessed to have people like yourself and Terry and Stan Zeff and Little Lewis and Kai Alce and Ramon Rousseau, people that I like and I respect doing legendary things and work. Because, if people don't know, I am a house head, so anytime I can slide in that genre
Right,
in the show
absolutely.
and give you guys a platform, that's what I'm about. So I thank you so much, Alan, for talking with me this afternoon. This was great. I got to know you just a little bit
Yeah,
more, a
right,
little bit
right.
more. That's good.
There's still more to peel back, but
Yeah,
this is
I
about
know, because you ain't going nowhere. You're not going nowhere. Today's show, let me tell the people today's show is powered by Tanetta Bell Photography. She's amazing. She's done all of my pictures, most of my pictures, my professional pictures that you see. Whenever I go up to New York, I just go across to Jersey and have her do my pictures. I love her to death. Please follow her on IG. She's Tanetta Bell Photography. Go ahead, look at these beautiful pictures, these babies. They're gorgeous. She's been doing this for quite some time. She is magnificent. Some of the people, some actors have been using her, some people in music. Look at me, I didn't turn out too bad. I look pretty good. Go ahead, guys, get your pictures done if you can. If you're in the Northeast area, Tanetta Bell Photography. She has been able to power us today, and we're so thankful about that. That's my time. You guys know me. I'm everywhere. I am on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. We have a website, realchicksrock.com. Thank you so much, guys, for taking some time spending it with me this afternoon. Until next time, you guys take care, be well, and